here with UL, Ragin Cajun head coach, Billy Napier. Coach, man, thank you for taking the time out your busy schedule. I know y'all preparing for the upcoming season, man, and getting some of your kids acclimated to getting ready for that fall camp that y'all about to start. Just appreciate you taking the time, Coach.
Yeah, Jeremiah, thank you, man. Thanks for covering our team. And we certainly appreciate your friendship and have a lot of respect for what you do for young people. So anything that we can do to help, we're always here.
Appreciate that. I think we less than 40 days away from kickoff out there in Austin, Texas, man. I'm excited for you guys to see, y'all go down there and take on a premier program like the University of Texas with Sarkisian, starting his tenure over there. I saw the spread come out maybe a couple of weeks ago. They got Texas only 7-point favorites over you guys. So that lets me know that a lot of people think that y'all got a really, really good team going into Austin. Coach, just talk about preparing for them. I know you probably been watching film for a while now. And what do you expect going into that game, especially how y'all fared last year beating Iowa State, who was ranked coming into that game?
I think I've got that question. That question's been asked a lot. Obviously, as soon as that game gets put on the schedule, certainly, finishing up last year with the win in the bowl game, having an opportunity to, finish up a great year, and then people turn the page and they start looking at what's in front of you. So, I think the most important thing about the game is what we do between now and when we kick it off. I think there's going to obviously, our fans are excited, our alumni is excited, our administration is excited. And certainly I think we would be lying if we didn't feel like it is a factor with our players, regardless of what we want to say. But we've got to channel that energy towards the things that are going to help us play better when we get to the game. That's a common issue. We're all excited and want to play well when we run out of that tunnel, but the ability to make really good choices and decisions each day and create habits where your fundamentals and techniques and your decision-making, your communication, all these things will hold up in that type of environment. That's what the next 40 days are about. We certainly have a lot of respect for Texas. You talk about history, tradition, the prestige of that university and that state. They've got great personnel, and they certainly have hired one heck of a football coach, and he's put together a terrific staff. So, it's going to be a great challenge, but also a great opportunity at the same time. And our focus is on the work that's right here in front of us. That's how we've had success building our program. And we're going to take the same approach. There's a lot of work left to be done. When we turn our attention to Texas, we'll worry about Texas at that point in time. But right now, it is what it is.
Right.
A lot of work left to do.
Right. I thought it was interesting last year when you guys upset at Iowa State. You get on social media, you hear some people in the media kind of saying, man, Iowa State must be not that good. And I guess I was a little biased just because I know the players that y'all have and the coaching and things of that nature. And then Iowa State wins the Big 12 and then wins the Fiesta Bowl. So now people have to retract what they say and say, well, maybe UL was pretty good after all. Talk about the difference between last year going into that game versus this year, especially with, y'all was going through COVID and all those limitations that y'all had.
Well, I think, if we remember back to that time, that game got scheduled literally a month before the game, right? I mean, we're talking cancellations. We're talking contracts and conversations between athletic directors in a matter of days, right? I mean, we pick up a game against Iowa State. We set a conference schedule. I mean, it absolutely was chaotic. I mean, I'm looking back at my notes. One of the things that I do is I go back and look at my notes from this part of the season, this part of the year. And I'm looking at 19 notes and I look at 20 notes. we had so many things going on with our team. We had obviously the pandemic was a big deal. We were tackling a lot of social issues in our country. And we continue to work hard at that. Coach DJ Looney passed away. We had a couple hurricanes come through Louisiana at that time of the year. So, a lot going on.
Roller coaster.
We put the ball down and played that day against Iowa State. And to be honest with you, going into the game, man, I have so much respect for Matt Campbell and the team and program that he has. They're extremely well coached. I think they evaluate well. They play really good complementary football. And man, I went into that game expecting a great challenge. I think all of a sudden we put the ball down, we start playing, we get to halftime, we're in position. We had missed out on some opportunities in the first half of that game, but certainly going into the locker room, you felt like, hey, we're right in the middle of this thing. So, we're in a completely polar opposite place right now, just in terms of the ability to execute our traditional plan in the spring semester, the summer. We've added about 30 scholarship players to the team. We've got a great group of super seniors that are coming back. So, we've had a great spring semester, a great summer program, and we're in prime position to play some of the best football we've ever played in the history of this school. I really believe that. So
I remember when you first took the job, and a lot of things that you said in the press conference was Brian Maggott's plan, and that was one of the biggest reasons why you took the job. The infrastructure over there at UL Lafayette, man, I think is very unique. I've been to a ton of universities around the country, Power 5, Group of 5, and I think I've said this on record before that it really reminds me of a Power 5 program. And with all that being said, I think that's why y'all done such a great job of recruiting. Kids like Osiris Torrance, who I think is going to get drafted one day. Trey Amos, Kyron Lacey, the list goes on and on that football team that you have. How has that helped recruit the state and get and dab out the state a little bit and get key guys in Texas and Alabama and Mississippi? How much has that helped recruit?
Well, like you mentioned, I think we've been able to put together a really good personnel department here. We've got some bright up and coming people. We've got a unique position, a director of on-campus recruiting that really does a great job, when it comes to the hospitality. When people visit here, I think that's a big deal. We've hired people that have passion for recruiting, that have connections, in our footprint. And I think we've got a sound process in place from an evaluation standpoint. And then once we know who we want, I think we've got the ability to go recruit them. So, we take an inside-out approach here. And I'm very involved in the evaluation part and the recruitment part. We start with the state of Louisiana. I think there's on average about 115 players that we think, okay, these guys have a chance in this state. And we put them through our evaluation system. And that's extensive. It's detailed. We've got we've got critical factors for positions. We've got the measurables that we think are important. How do they fit in our system? What jobs are they going to do on our team? And we really work hard at that. I think last year during the quarantine, that's one of the areas where we really spent a lot of time and made great improvement. And I think this group that we just signed may be the best group we've signed. So, it starts with good people, right? And then I think it's about having systems, right? That's what we believe in here, right? Improve your system. And I think in the personnel department, from an evaluation, recruitment, on-campus recruiting, I think we've gotten better each year. And I think that we start inside out. Start with the state of Louisiana. I watch every single player. I watch, close to 100 players in this state before we even move to the next circle of players. Then we branch out into the 300-mile radius, which includes Texas, which includes Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, the Panhandle of Florida. We go into that. We feel like we have more success with proximity, ability to get them here. We feel like we got to beg them to come here, and then once we get them here, we got a chance. So that's the approach that we take. It takes a team to recruit, to evaluate and recruit. You got to try to eliminate the subjectivity and put the ego on the shelf and really be objective. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've had success here. So, I think we're starting to see some of that pay off. The depth of our team is improving. And right now, going into training camp, there's no question this is the deepest team we've had. And it's going to be highly competitive out there.
I remember maybe about a year or two ago, you saying one time that y'all are pretty slow with the offer. And kids and parents are always wondering, UL doesn't really offer a ton of kids. I mean, the ones they offer, y'all pretty much mean business. And I go back, I think it was your first year or your second year at UL, you offered Mason Smith, and this guy ended up, and he was in the 9th grade, this guy ended up being the #1 player in the country. How, what's the irony of that? But, for the kids and the parents that's always wondering, why are y'all slow with the offer? And, what goes into your evaluation, Coach Nate? Because you do, like you say, watch every kid.
Yeah, well, I think that, I don't give the assistants just the, I don't want them out there just operating as independent contractors. I think that, I just think a lot of times staffs operate differently, I think one of the most important parts of college football and recruiting and evaluating is being on the same page, right? And working together as a team, right? Sometimes in recruiting, there's a lot of pressure on the assistant coach to sign players, right? I've seen that be an issue amongst the staff, right? Everybody thinks, oh man, I got to sign 3 or 4 guys, man, or I'm going to get looked at a little bit different. I think, and don't get me wrong, I think that if you want to keep a job in this profession at this level, then you want to work hard at recruiting and really take pride in that part of your game. So, but I do think amongst our staff, what we try to do is eliminate that friction by, we basically divide our areas up into 8 areas. We spread out the work. We're always evaluating who the workload. Sometimes there's not as many players in one guy's area as there is in another guy's area. We'll spread it out a little bit. I may reassign a recruit to another coach. I think that I want to make sure when we make a decision, all right, we're going to take this young man. We believe in him as a student. We know enough about him as a person. And we validated all the things that we thought about him when we watched the tape, when we watched him practice, when we watched him compete on game day, when he came to our camp, or maybe we saw him at another camp. So much goes into that decision. And I like to think that, hey, once they're ours, right? I'm not one of these guys that wants to be calling around, in November saying, hey, look, you can't come here. It's just not the way we want to do business. So I think consistent communication as a group, always knowing that we're on the same page. And then, hey, take what we decide in our staff and go relay that to the kid and his family, right? Like specifically what we'd like to see, right? Like, hey, look, we think you're a great player. You're a very productive player on film. There's no question. We see the documented speed, but we'd like to know exactly how big you are before we make a decision, or, hey, look, we like what we see. We know how big you are, but we'd like to see you run. We'd like to see you play man-to-man coverage. We'd like to see you do some more change of direction. Maybe they're out of position and we want to see them do some other things. When we do it, we're just matter of fact. We're trying to figure out the puzzle, right? We're trying to make a decision. There's nothing worse than getting in a hurry, getting impatient, getting emotional, making a decision that you want a young man. He commits to you. You didn't check all the boxes and really make sure. And then he's on your team. And then he can't do the job we thought he could do for your team. And now he's disappointed. He lacks confidence. He's questioning himself. He's dealing with issues. And then maybe the guy ends up having to change courses and go somewhere else. So I think the more times that we can go through the entire process, make a decision, the ones that we decide we want, go recruit them. And if they decide to come, we know what we're getting, right? And then you got a chance to retain players, develop players. They experience success because they are what we thought they are. They can play for you. They get opportunities to contribute to the team. And then they have a better career. They've got more confidence. The game benefits them. They can use the game. They can continue to grow and develop. I think a lot of times when a guy is not contributing to the team, it affects his overall who he is as a person. I know myself, I had to wait until my fourth year to be the starter, right? I started my fourth and fifth year.
Wow.
And because of that experience, I'm a different person. That gave me a lot of confidence to battle, be a backup for 3 years, and then finally be the starting quarterback and have that leadership opportunity to get a chance to go on the field and play, and all the great experiences that come with that, right? So, I think for me, I'm willing to deal with the fact that we may lose out on some guys because we are slow, we are patient, and we are thorough. But I believe in the end, we're going to like the product that we get, and I think that our players are going to have better experiences as a result of that. So, there's a lot of ways to skin a cat. We've got our way. It continues to evolve. We're always tinkering with it. We're always trying to improve, and we make mistakes.
Ragin Cajun head coach Billy Napier on the podcast today. Coach, I know you brought some people in to kind of talk to your team about NIL. You've kind of been ahead of the curve in that regards. Probably more than a lot of group of fives that I've been paying attention to. What's your take on NIL and far as the goods and the bad that's going to come with this going forward?
Well, there's no question that in college football, modern day college football, okay? So I think, I can remember when I first started in college football from a financial standpoint, right? From a profit, from a revenue standpoint, it was a different planet, right? I think the game has evolved, right? There's so much interest, right? The information that's available, the passion of these people, right? So I think the revenue that is generated in today's world, the players are at the core of that, right? So it makes sense to me to create an outlet where they can benefit from their name, image, and likeness in some form or fashion, right? I think a lot about the players that they're going to have a role in the team. They're going to contribute it in a major way. And they're not going to get drafted. They're not going to play pro football. They're not going to make generational money as a result of their college football career. But They are working extremely hard, and they are going to get a great education as a result of that. There's no question that the network of people that comes with being a student athlete at a university like this and like many others, there are benefits to that, and it does position you down the road. But in general, while you're here, I think that it makes sense to me for there to be opportunity for you to benefit from your platform, your exposure, your contribution to the revenue that is getting generated, right? So, yeah, but I am excited that our players are going to have the opportunity. And I think realizing that there's going to be some good, some bad, and some ugly that come with it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just the nature of the competitive spirit out there. You know, sometimes it gets abused. And I think what we're going to see is that abuse is going to bring control. And it's very much a work in progress. I think anyone that tells you they understand it or know it or have the best plan for it, they're lying to you. So we'll see, you know, and we're ready to adjust here for sure.
Yeah, that's my concern, Coach, going into this NIL period. Just the type of people that's advising these kids, some of these companies and businesses that's writing up contracts, and you know, these kids and their representation not reading the fine print and not knowing, you know, what's going to happen 2 years down the line. Are you signing your rights away? I mean, it's a lot of different dynamics that come into play, and that's what I worry about when it comes to NIL. Don't make no mistake about it. I do want to see these kids benefit and generate some kind of money and put in their pocket, but it's just a lot that's going to come with it. So, you know, yeah, there is no right answer right now, and it's going to be a lot of change. I don't think this thing is going to be figured out no time soon. I think it might be another 2 or 3 years till it's really figured out nationwide.
You bring up an interesting point, and I think, you know, you got to back up here and really think about from a big picture standpoint, right? From a different perspective here. If you go about things the right way during your experience as a student athlete, right? If you take full advantage of the opportunities that you have, independent of football, I'm talking about the education piece, the network piece, the skill set, the internships, the ability to have success as a student, get into graduate school potentially at some point, and get placed in the right field, in the right job. Okay, you take that part, okay, then you say, okay, let's talk about the football career. If you have the physical ability, if you've got the, you know, the right approach in your development, you know, each one of our players comes in here, they've got great height, length, speed, measurables, but they've got to work on their fundamentals and techniques. Their football IQ certainly can get stronger, faster, quicker, and get in position to where you are a player that gets an opportunity at the next level, right? Whether you get drafted or you're a free agent, you get into camp, okay? Reality is over your lifetime, okay, you're going to make so much more money as a result of that education, skill set, network of people, getting in position where you can have a career. Okay, we're not talking about name, image, and likeness. We're talking about a career. You people will hire you, right? You can do a job. You can take care of your family, right? Whether that's being a professional football player or whether it's being, you know, whatever career you choose, right? So we got to make sure that name, image, and likeness is part of what we do, but it is by no means all of what we do, right? So it's almost kind of like icing on the cake, if that makes sense. And, you know, we live in a drive-through world. We live in a microwave world, right? Everybody thinks it's going, hey, it's going to happen quickly. So, the young players in particular, I told someone the other day, I almost wish that, and this is just me, you can benefit from your name, image, and likeness in year 3. Okay. But year 1, year 2, hey, look, let's educate you, get you ready for that, right? Let's work on you, your maturity as a student, as a football player. Okay. Hey, you have some success in those first couple of years. Great. That means you're educated, you're equipped, you got the tools, you understand. And now in year 3, you can capitalize on name, image, and likeness in year 3, 4, and 5, right? But, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that
that's a very interesting perspective right there. I never even thought about that. I think that would definitely help out collegiate sports if they did have to wait till year 3.
Hey, look, you're not draft eligible yet, but in year 3, if you're a good person, good student, and a good player, and you've had some success, you're probably in position to take advantage. And you can spend the first 2 years really settling in right here and say, look, I'm not eligible for that. I'm going to work for 2 years and prepare for that opportunity. I just know between the ears what a guy's like when he gets to your place as a freshman, right? Not all of them. Some of them are different. Some of them are further ahead, right? But some of them got a lot. They got a lot of work to do. And heck, it's what makes it fun to coach, right? You get a chance to be a part of that experience. There's no better gratification as a coach than to be somewhere for 3, 4, 5, 6+ years, and then all of a sudden you've seen that process from beginning to end, and you can have so much pride in who that young man became, right? And you feel like you did your job, right? Like, okay, hey, we invested in that guy, right? We made him better, right? The experience that he had here positioned him to have success down the road. So,
what have you learned? Because you got an interesting resume and work with some real polarizing figures in college football with Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Jim McElwain, Ty Graham. What have you learned from all of those guys and kind of put your own little twist on it as a head coach at UL?
Well, the first thing I would say is I've coached in the Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC, the Mountain West, the MEAC Conference. I played in the Southern Conference, which is an FCS deal. My dad was a high school coach in Georgia. When I sit around and think about it, I've had a lot of jobs in a lot of different places. I've observed and seen things done in a lot of different leagues and a lot of different conferences, in a lot of different colleges with different staffs, right? There's no question that the experience I had at Alabama, that's my ace in the hole, right? That's my trump card, right? That was the experience that probably changed me the most, right? But I also think that growing up as the son of a coach, right? Having a little bit of that high school, desire to be a high school coach, for a long time, right? As a high school player, as a college player, early in my career as a coach, as a graduate assistant. It wasn't until I got offered a college job and really went back and forth and finally made a decision to give it a shot that I became, okay, hey, look, I think this is the right path. So, Buddy Pugh gave me my first opportunity at South Carolina State in the MEAC Conference. I was there for 1 year, coached the quarterback, called the plays. We had a fantastic year. I learned so much from Buddy. Still to this day, will occasionally pick up the phone and call Coach Pugh. Coach Pugh was a legendary high school coach in the state of South Carolina. He got hired by Brad Scott at South Carolina, stayed on with Lou Holtz, and then got an opportunity to go back to his alma mater and be the head coach at South Carolina State. He's still the head coach there and has accomplished so much. So a year there, 7 years total with Tommy Bowden and Dabo Sweeney. And there's no question the game was really, that was a different era, right? 9 assistants, 2 GAs, an ops guy, and a high school relations guy. And that's all you had, I ran recruiting in that era, right? Where you were one of the 9 assistants and you were in charge. You ran the whole show in recruiting, which is not how we operate today. But coached the tight ends the first 3 years. Was the quarterback OC, called the plays for 2 years. Also was a GA, before the South Carolina State deal there. Went through a tough time, got fired, right? Got let go, had to start over, recenter myself. Was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Nick gave me an opportunity as an analyst. That's where I met a lot of my close friends that year. I was still young at that point, 30 years old. And we had an unbelievable staff and the second tier people, the young people that were in that building at that point in time. You would be blown away if I went down the list of people that are out there having tremendous success, that were GAs, they were quality control guys, they were analysts, so accomplished. And the assistants that you observe, the relationships that you build. Met Jim McWayne, one of the best teachers and one of the most creative offensive minds in ball. Currently the head coach of Central Michigan. I went with him to Colorado State, spent a year on the West Coast, Mountain West. That job, that experience really helped me in this job, right? It was a similar situation, because it was a group of 5 team. We inherited a little bit of a mess. Went through the whole process with him of kind of taking that Alabama blueprint, and applying it to the group of 5 level. Learned a lot of lessons in that experience. I was the only person in the building from Alabama that went with Coach Mack out there, right? So, had a lot of input. Still to this day, ton of respect for Mac, and would call him and ask him questions in tough spots. Went back to Alabama. I was the receiver coach, 4 years there. Incredible experience. And I would say this is a different experience being an analyst and sitting on the outside of the room, keeping your mouth shut. And then, okay, hey, now I'm at the big table and you got the fire on your neck. You got your own grass to mow, right? And certainly that was an unbelievable experience. That was a time where my dad got diagnosed with ALS, battled ALS that entire time I was there. And then obviously after 4 years of doing that, got the play calling bug again, wanted a chance, really prayed a lot for an opportunity to be in a leadership position. Obviously wanted to call plays again and run the offense, and went to Arizona State with Todd Graham. Had an unbelievable experience there, learned a lot from Coach Graham. And then, went through the transition with Herm Edwards for about 3 weeks. And that's when this job was offered to me. And heck, we're going into year 4 here. So I think some of those household names are the ones that people talk about. But what gets overlooked is all the people that you meet along the way, the assistants, the strength coaches, the trainers, the nutritionists, some of the best at their job in the entire country.
Head coach Billy Napier on the G-Sportz podcast. That's the last part of the podcast, Coach. A little fun part, all right? Here we go. Here we go. Favorite NFL player of all time?
Joe Montana and Brett Favre would be a tie. Those are the two that, when you said that, those two names came to my head.
Favorite coach of all time?
Man, I got to say my dad, I think, when you grow up in the home of a high school football coach, and quickly, you know that's what you want to do, very quickly as a young person.
Best high school recruit you've ever seen with your own eyes?
Man, you're going to get me in trouble here.
I know you didn't see some good ones.
Man, that's a great question.
I got somebody in mind. I just want to see if you're going to say him. Somebody I know you recruited.
Let me just say, a guy that just blew me away, okay? A guy that just constantly was just like, wow. I mean, Derrick Henry, okay? Derrick Henry was just he's like a unicorn, okay? I mean, this guy was this guy walks in the room and you're thinking this guy's a defensive end. He's H-backed, big tight end. He might even play NBA basketball. I mean, heck, you're not quite sure. and I mean, and then all of a sudden, the guy's out there as a mid-year freshman in Alabama. And, he moves a little different, off-season program. He's 6'3", he's 230 pounds. And then I remember the first scrimmage, and it became very evident that this guy was a running back and he was going to be a legend. And what's crazy to me was just to watch him. Man, this guy was a worker, man. He was relentless. This guy used to come off the field on Tuesdays during the season and get in that squat rack, right? He'd be in there. I mean, this guy was a phenom. To be that big, to be that fast, to have those instincts, vision, production, and to be that durable, and what gets me is, I turn the TV on, I get a chance to see a Monday night game, a Sunday night game, and to watch that guy. He's doing it in pro football. Okay. And he just gets this guy gets better. More times you hand that guy the ball, the better he gets. And we rode that guy, that year. And that second half of that season, he took over. He was a special player. So just a freak, a guy that would just always, that would be the guy that always just impressed me. And let me tell you something about Derrick Henry. He's an awesome person. I mean, his character, his work ethic, his ability to be a great teammate and appreciate everybody. He was thankful. He's kept his life in order. He's a great professional and a great example to young people, So a lot of respect, Derrick Henry. That's my pick there. I'm going to have 18 text messages here. I thought these guys would see this soon. Texting me.
I just knew you was going to go with a receiver guy, man. I thought you was going to say Jerry Jeudy or somebody.
Well, I will say that is one thing I'm not going to do, is pick one of those guys. I can promise you that. Because if I did that, I'd have a lot of pissed off dudes looking at me.
Yeah, really, Martavius Bryant, a lot of them guys going to have something to say.
No doubt.
Coach Billy Napier, man, UL Ragin Cajun head coach, man. Appreciate you taking the time, man, out your busy schedule to come on the podcast. Good luck to y'all this upcoming season. I can't wait to see how it's all going to unfold. I know you got big things coming in the future, Coach. And before you go, man, I just want to tell you, bro, I'm rooting for y'all.
All right, Jeremiah. Thank you, man. I appreciate you covering our team. And I certainly appreciate what you do for young people. And got a lot of respect for your entrepreneurial spirit. You got some game to you. And I know you got a lot on the docket, a lot in the works, man. Just we're pulling for you, and continue to do great things and continue to impact people along the way.
Appreciate you, Coach.